Welcome to the Art of Authority podcast, bringing you interviews and episodes to help you radically optimize your authority and influence to become the go-to expert in your field. Here's your host, authority positioning coach, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome back. This is Mike Saunders, the authority positioning coach. And today we have with us Marcus Sheridan, who is a keynote speaker and author on the topics of inbound marketing, content marketing, and marketing strategy. Welcome to the program, Marcus.
Mike, it is a pleasure to be here on what is a lovely, colder than it should be Monday morning in Virginia. But I'm glad to talk. Glad to chat about the stuff that I really just gets me fired up this morning.
Well, you know how you hear about a certain topic and you always associate it with the place or the person you heard it from. When I first heard of the concept of content marketing, it was on your podcast. And that was years ago. And that was in the, the spa and pool days of that transition. And so I always think of you as that, a content marketing initiator is in my mind. So, and I know that you've been on the forefront of that whole concept. So give us a little bit of background of where you're seeing today in marketing, where content marketing is, because I feel like it's now just part of the ethos of marketing. It's not anymore a thing. It's just, you better do it.
Well, it's surprising. There's still so many companies that still don't get it, right? And they still resist what's happening with digital. And I think part of the reason is because I don't know, fundamentally in terms of the way that it's been written or described, I don't think we've necessarily helped the world of leadership and sales teams understand what content marketing is, right? So whenever you call something marketing, what happens is people immediately within organizations disregard what you're actually saying, right? Because
it's not my job.
Right. They think it's not my job and it's not going to produce revenue, which is, of course, the antithesis of the truth, right? And I think too, and you've heard me say this before, Mike, but I'm going to say it again, that, sometimes people say to me, do you think this whole content marketing thing is a fad? And I'm just like, man, you just don't understand what you're asking me. That's like saying, do you think great teaching, solving your customers' problems, great communication, do you think that's a fad? It's like, is that stuff going to be relevant to your business in 20 years? Of course, being a great teacher and communicator, solving your customers' problems is going to be as relevant to your business in 20 years as it is today. Now, the way that it's done, we don't yet fully comprehend, right? Yeah, it might be this whole virtual crazy world by then, but the principles are the same, and that's what people have to understand. And I think there's more that are getting that, but I still think we have a long ways to go. And the sad reality is the platforms and the technology is evolving much quicker than business owners and CEOs in the terms of the way they want to handle today's marketplace and today's buyer.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I want to kind of make a point about it's the strategy. It's not a tactic yet. Content marketing is a way you're educating your audience, a way to amplify your solution to their problem, which means you got to know what their problem is and know your audience, all of that. But I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that feel like, okay, great, I'm going to jump into this and I'm going to start blogging. Well, to your point, what you just said, there's so many now platforms out there that they start seeing these shiny objects and then they are tempted to try blogging for 2 seconds and then try this for 2 seconds and go, oh, it didn't work. What are your thoughts on really just picking 1 or 2 or 3 platforms and just making it work for your organization before, and then taking those shiny objects and put them on the parking lot and addressing them, later to see if they might fit?
Well, your question brings up a couple thoughts in my mind. The other day, this guy, he says something to me like, so I hear you say that everybody should blog. And I say, no. That's not what I say. What I say is every company must obsess over their customers and be willing to address their questions. If you happen to do that in what would be a blog on your website or with videos or through social, whatever that platform is and whatever the medium is, that's good. But the fundamentals of really what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Right, isn't about, quote, blogging. And I think, again, it's funny, Mike, semantics matter, right? Words matter. And the way that we nobody's ever said, man, like CEOs don't say, man, I want to be the best bloggers in the world, right? They don't say that, but they will say, I want to be better teachers. And then, to your point, many can get distracted. It's the ultimate case of jack of all trades, master of none. And I'm really grateful that early on, I just was like, we're going to be the best teachers in the world when it comes to fiberglass pools. When I was a pool guy, right? And so that's what we became. We did it through text, then we did it through video. We never really spent a lot of time on social. And we still don't spend a ton of time with social today because it just wasn't a major driver for us then. It really isn't a major driver for us now. You got to know where the returns are. There's so many shiny, stinking objects out there, man. And you can't be great on a multiplicity of platforms. And even if you are, you have to become great at one, then you become great at another, right? And then you add another and eventually become great at that. But you can't just do it all at one time because then you spread yourself too thin.
Yeah, and at that point, here's another good question. A lot of people say you need to create content for specific platforms. So create this piece of content for LinkedIn, and then the same concept, but a whole different vibe and twist on it for Twitter, for Facebook. So if you're really doing it the right way, you won't have time for so many platforms. Is there any validity to that, or can you create a piece of educational content and put it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. So I'm not going to lie. All the time, I will put my YouTube video up on Facebook and on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Now, if I had all the resources that I want, I would have my videographer edit a separate video for Facebook, edit a separate video for LinkedIn that were in other words, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So if you watch a LinkedIn video that I post this week, it's going to be the same one I post on YouTube, which means that it'll have make sure you subscribe at the end, and you'll be like, where can I subscribe? Well, I'll put that in the comment section, right?
Right.
In the comment section, I will put where they can subscribe, but it's not as fluid as if it was showing on YouTube. But just because it doesn't check every single box, I know it checks like 9 out of the 10 boxes. And so I'm a very ship it, let's launch it. Let's embrace the imperfection, whereas there's a lot of perfectionists out there that never really do anything great online.
Yeah.
Perfectionism has killed so many, like the ability for so many businesses to create a true digital strategy and engender buyer trust because, well, that video's got to be perfect, and so if it's not perfect, we're not going to put it out there. Or if it's not specifically made for Facebook, we're not going to put it out there. Or if it's not 90 seconds or less, we're not going to put it out. There's all these stupid, this is crazy. People get lost in the weeds these days, Mike.
Don't you think that it's almost an underlying fear or worry that they easily grasp onto those excuses? Like, well, I read this article that said you need to have it native to each platform and we don't have time for that, or the 90-second thing. And in reality, they're just a little fearful that if I do this, maybe people won't respond to it, or maybe it won't get the engagement that I need. So they're just latching on to that reason or that excuse.
Yeah. Well, well, that's exactly right.
Sometimes.
So what happens is, you read something, you hear something, seeds of doubt get planted in your ability to do it exactly, like so. And then because we can't do it like so, we just don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Which, if you look at any skill in the history of the world, pretty much no one would develop any skills at all if they had gone into it saying, I'm just not going to do this skill until I've got it on lockdown. It's just not the human way,
You're
right?
not going to hit it out of the park the first time you try it.
No, you got to embrace the messy. And this is especially true, one of my big messages these days is of course, talking about power of video. And in trying to instill, my company, we train videographers and marketing departments on how to develop this culture of video in-house, which means you got to get your sales team involved. You got to get your subject matter experts involved. You got to get this flow. You got to get this editorial calendar, and you just got to get the place where you're going to shoot the videos. It's all these things gets wonky, right? And there's a messy period. And as soon as it gets a little bit messy, people just want to stop. And so I got to tell them, look, there's going to be this really ugly period where, you're not going to know the right place to shoot your videos every time. You're not going to have the right people every time. Some of your people are going to screw up. Some of them are going to look bad on camera. Some of them won't know what to say. All these things are going to happen, and that's okay. That's okay, because we're going to get to a point we get through the storm, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, this is why we've been working for this thing. We can't forget that is so imperative to all of this.
Well, and you bring up another point is it's not a one-man show. It's a whole organization, and your organization might be you and your 2 employees and your secretary. It doesn't need to be a major organization. It could be a small entrepreneurial firm. But when you have that editorial calendar, and then when you have the simple things like, okay, when this happens, make sure we capture whatever. And it might just simply be your customer service admin person whenever you get an inbound question. Hey, does your product do this? Does your service do that? Maybe that becomes just a teaching point that you shoot your next video on, your next content marketing piece on, and you build out that knowledge base, right? Because other people have that same question.
Well, I mean, I like your mindset, Mike. It's, the simplicity, it's the old KISS method. And when you do keep it simple, it's amazing the things that happen. There's all these like little digital Davids out there right now that are slaying Goliaths in their industry because they don't have all the red tape. They don't feel like it's got to be perfect. They are willing to figure it out as they go, fail forward, right? All these things.
All these cliches, yeah.
That's right. That's why you got a bunch of rich teenagers, running around with these Instagram and YouTube accounts. Because trust me, most of them aren't producing stuff that's Hollywood, and it was really, really rough at first, but they were okay with that. Problem is, you get these brands, and they're so obsessed with their image, which, and I appreciate the image thing, I really, really do, but they eliminate immediately anything that's less than a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Whether
it's Facebook, whether it's social, whether it's video, whatever that thing is, and then they just get left behind because there's they're not innovating at all. They don't have this fail it forward mindset.
And innovation doesn't have to be some new brand spanking new platform that no one else has tried and you're calling innovation. No. It could be innovation for your firm. It could be the fact that, we are taking those, frequently asked questions and turning them into pieces of content and kicking them back out to our audience. And that's innovation because normally we would just point them to our website, to our FAQ section. Well, now we're bringing it to life, or we're putting little video snippets under each one. And that's innovation for us. So I think that's a big thing, is that perfection and that analysis of paralysis. So how do you feel that now that an organization kind of gets some momentum, how does the mindset of content marketing play into inbound leads with respect to people are out there searching, and we know they're searching? How does that potential buyer view the educational content, or how should they? How are you banking on that they view it, as opposed to your competitor that's just going buy, get my coupon?
Yeah, I think one of the great divides with content in general, and the way companies produce it, the way they display it, is, just think about how many times have you viewed something or read something from a brand or from a business where you immediately just knew it was biased, Mike, that you could just sense they're really just trying to sell you. They just wanted to talk about what was good about the thing, why it was great, why you should buy it, why it's a great fit. But because they weren't willing to talk about both sides of the coin, right? And this is the divide. Because they weren't willing to talk about that other side, they didn't win your respect. I mean, let me give you an example, right? So a simple example of this is, let's just use the pool thing for a minute. Somebody, one of the questions I would get all the time as a salesperson when I was just a pool guy was, hey, Marcus, tell me why I should choose your fiberglass pools over concrete, right? And so most fiberglass pool companies, they rail on concrete, and they really just don't give you many reasons why you would buy it. Right? Concrete pool companies rail on fiberglass, give you no reason why you would buy it. And this is typical for industries all over the world. Doesn't matter what it is. This pool is it's a micro of a macro, right? And so if I was going to produce a video or an article on that, I need to sound something like this. So one of the questions that people ask me all the time here at River Pools is, okay, Marcus, be honest, which should I choose, concrete or fiberglass? Well, if you're wanting to know the answer to this question, first, you need to know a couple things about us. Number one, we only sell fiberglass, but we recognize that fiberglass isn't always the best option. In fact, there are times when concrete might be the better choice. And so what this article or what this video is going to do, it's going to explain to you the pros and the cons of both types of pools. And then by the end, hopefully you'll be able to decide which is the best choice for you. Now, once I've done that, the listener, the viewer is saying, Finally, somebody is willing to call a spade a spade. Everybody, Mike, wants to self-select, right? We want to feel like I am in charge of my destiny based on the facts. I can make these decisions, right? And that's why there's been an explosion in the way that we search for things online. So, for example, for me searches have exploded online for me. So this applies to like all businesses, but it might be something like this. It might be like, what is the best diet for me? All right. What is the best marketing method for my business? What is the best social media platform for my company? You see what I'm saying? We're looking for very specific, individualized questions. Is the way that we search now, because we've learned that individualized specific searches about us is oftentimes going to render the greatest results. Businesses have to respond. And so the way that the listener right now can apply this is, okay, think about what you sell and think about all the questions you've gotten over the years of the should I's and for me's and these types of questions that buyers always ask. Are you giving them the ability to make that selection when they're on your site? So, for example, right now we're working on an app on our swimming pool site, Mike, that is, what is the best type of swimming pool for me? And so they will go through a series of questions, and then at the end of that series, it will tell them it will give them a recommendation, and it'll tell them why it's recommending what it's recommending, right? Now, that's pretty cool. That's what people want, because they feel like, okay, I took the test. It was unbiased, and I need to be unbiased about it. In other words, if somebody says, yeah, I want a 70-foot pool that's a true well that goes to 12 feet of depth, I'm like, clearly fiberglass isn't the best choice for you because the largest is 16 by 40, 8 feet deep, right? That's how businesses need to think. Now, somebody might be listening to this right now, Mike, and say, well, this sounds like a B2C thing. No.
It's a human-to-human thing.
This is a human-to-human, P2P, H2H, however you want to say it, daggone. I am amazed that this far into the digital conversation that we're still having so many people say, well, isn't what he's saying a B2B or a B2C? I swear, it just is amazing. I recently taught at a conference, Mike, and got my feedback forms. I swear to goodness what I'm about to tell you is true. First person says, I just feel like he had too many B2C examples and we're a B2B company. Next person says, I feel like he had too many B2B examples because we're a B2C company.
They were listening for certain things. They had a bias.
Talk, Mike. This is the bias of the attendees.
Yeah.
And so if you understand how it's a principle-based conversation that we're having, and I could go down the list. Look, if you look at it right now, I've got basically what is 4 different companies that I'm running. First one is a manufacturing company. Manufactures pools and sells it to dealers, B2B. It's also an installation company that installs them in the ground for the end user, B2C. I have a digital sales and marketing company called Impact. We work with businesses only, 65 employees. We only work with businesses. It's all B2B, and everything I'm telling you applies. I've got a speaking company. It's B2B. It's the exact same thing. It's all the same thing. And so if you have that mindset within your organization, my gracious, man, you got to change it because it's going to thwart your ability to have progress and success.
And banking right off that comment about mindset, I feel, and I want to get your thought on this, I feel that when you can work in the realm of authority, expertise, and influence, when people can see that you are giving that unbiased advice, they see you as an expert, they view that expertise as authoritative, and then you have influence over them because you're really doing it from the heart, and you're giving and you're serving, and you might get the deal, you might not, but you're just speaking the truth, right?
You're willing to call a spade. And there's that, you mentioned innovation. That's innovative, right?
Yeah.
That makes you different. That makes you, as Seth would say, the purple cow in the field.
Yes.
And it makes you stand out when you say, you know what, I just don't think we've got the best solution for you. And people are like, really, man? Are you sure you don't? No, I'm sure you don't. We don't. So like, now I want to buy them from you because finally you're willing to be real with me, man. That's all everybody wants. And that's the way that we've got to set things up.
So tell us a little bit about your book, They Ask You Answer.
Well, They Ask You Answer, of course, was it's this philosophy that starts with an obsession with the way buyers think. And it's not just the questions they ask. It's how they want to buy, how they want to shop, the buying process that they want to experience, kind of like that app we're creating, right? That's something that somebody wants to experience, but that's based on this They Ask You Answer philosophy. So it's the obsession with them. And so the book was written half for marketing, half for sales. You see, most content marketing books just were written for CMOs and marketing departments. Well, they already believe in this junk, man.
Yeah.
And so what we've got to do is we've got to get leadership and sales teams fundamentally involved in this process. They've got to believe it. They've got to understand it. They've got to embrace it. They've got to participate in it. And if they do that, you might get a culture that's really, really successful, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I wrote They Ask You Answer. It's done really, really well. And, the biggest comment has been, Marcus, I couldn't get buy-in for years on this stuff. But then I had my CEO read your book, and then all of a sudden, the light bulbs finally came on because it was written by someone that's owned businesses, that didn't study marketing in college, that I became, a marketing, whatever you want to call it, person or leader or whatever, by experimenting with this stuff, right? But I still speak like a salesperson. I still speak like a business owner, and that's what I think really, really resonates. And plus, Mike, I ain't trying to sound smart in the book. Nobody's going to read a book and say, my goodness, this guy's a genius.
Look at those words he used.
Yeah. What they're going to say is, holy cow, this is so simple. Why are we not doing it?
Yeah.
I mean, why are we not doing this? We could do this. That's what they say, Mike, and that's what makes me happy about it.
So, Marcus, what is one thing that you would say someone that reads your book, that comes away, like you said, the light bulb goes off. What is one thing that they're typically coming back to you saying, this resonated, we're going to implement this now?
Well, I mean, obviously, one of the major parts of the book focuses on what we call the big five, which are the 5 major subjects that buyers research B2B and B2C before they buy. Before they talk to a company, before they talk to a salesperson, they want to know these 5 subjects. And these 5 subjects are pretty much the least talked about subjects of digital, sales and marketing strategies out there. Like people don't address them, which is buyers want to know how much stuff is. They want to know how much it costs. They want to know what are the drawbacks, the negatives, the problems with it. They want to know how does it compare to that other thing that they're looking at. They want to know what is everybody saying about it. In other words, quality, what are the good, bad, ugly, right? And they want to know what the best it is within that area that they're looking, right? So how does this apply? Well, I mean, here's let's say that you're an inbound marketing agency, right? So here's a couple examples of how this might apply. So let's say I'm an inbound marketing agency and I sell HubSpot, right? So the questions might be, how much does it cost to hire an inbound marketing company, or what is the average monthly retainer price of an inbound marketing company? That's an example. Another example of a problems one is, what are the pros and cons of HubSpot? Because there's a bunch, right? There's pros and cons to both of them. And versus that might be, it could be like HubSpot versus Marketo, which is the best choice, for my business. Right? That's an example of a versus that people might be asking. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, there's just so many here who are the best inbound marketing agencies for pharmaceutical companies, right? That's the best one. A review of the top 5 inbound marketing agencies for nonprofits. You see what I'm saying? All this stuff is what buyers search, dude. Yeah,
the 4 me's as well.
Totally. The 4 me's and the should I's are blowing up too now. So it's fascinating to watch it. And that's people say, man, I just realized I've been talking about the wrong stuff, and that's why we're not moving the needle. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Normally I would say, what's the biggest mistake that people make in content marketing? But let me ask you if this seems like a one of the big mistakes. Is the WIIFM, what's in it for me? Is you as the content marketer might feel tempted to say, we're this and here's the, the teaching moment, but we need to make sure that we're educating and teaching that piece of content on the radio frequency per se of that prospective buyer. We need to be speaking to them. We need to be their Yoda and guiding them to the process of making their decisions and we have, and our process is. So it's that mindset shift of speaking to them and teaching them how they should make their decisions to solve their problem.
Yeah. It just goes back to this. It's they ask, you answer. It's all about them. It starts with them and they. Yeah. Sure. Like the obsession is with the buyer and how they think. And really, it's with the buyer. It's not with the bad fit prospect. It's not with the competitor. It's with the buyer. That's our obsession, right? And it's not, like you said, appropriately, Mike, it's not with ourselves. Most websites still, for the most part, they're really glorified brochures for the company.
Yeah.
And they're not great teaching hubs for the customer, and that's what they need to become. So the customer goes there and says, my goodness, these guys get me. They understand me. They've addressed all my questions. I just feel like they knew exactly what I was thinking, and they told me things that I wouldn't have thought about, but I'm so glad that they did. And because of that, I really need to contact them. I need to call them. I trust them.
And at that point, there's there's nothing wrong with this, but there's not necessarily the buy now button with a payment link. It encouraged them to reach out and make that initial contact. So now your interaction personally on the phone or email, that needs to be congruent with what you are on the website. So I mean, there's that feeling that you need to make sure that you continue teaching and giving and serving, so that then now they're like, okay, yeah. I liked what I saw here. I interacted with them. This is the right decision. So, and that's a whole other process,
Yes. Well, yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But that's as you get good at this, you will evolve into exactly what you're saying, Mike. And it just becomes like what's funny is, to me, when people read the Ask You Answer, like, man, it's like you did all these things. Like, who taught you to do this? I'm like, man, you don't understand. I didn't need anybody to tell me or teach me what my customers were saying. All I had to do was listen.
Yeah.
All I had to do is observe. And it became blaringly obvious what they wanted to know. The question was, what was I willing to talk about it, man? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Was I willing to say, okay, this is what I would want to know if I was a buyer? Or did I just want to stick with this, hey, it's the myth of the secret sauce, and I just got to make sure that that we hold it all in and we don't share it with anybody, which is silly.
Yep, silly. Hey, so last question. What are you seeing looking forward? What are you seeing in the world of marketing as it relates to content education? You mentioned one thing with AI. Do you feel like that is on the cusp of where things can go, where people are going to want to consume
it? It is, Mike. It really, really is. I tell you what I think is going to. So again, looking at the trends, looking at the mirror is the first trend, right? If you really study the way you're behaving and then the way others are behaving, one thing that's fundamentally clear is we're all becoming more and more impatient when we are having a buying experience. That includes customer service. And so in other words, if we want to pitch a fit about something that just happened on a flight on United Airlines, we want to feel like we've been heard immediately, right? Yep. I mean, which drives me crazy, but this is the way that people are. This is people. And so that's why chatbots, I think, are going to be a big, big deal, right? And the ability for people to come to your site or your platform, whatever it is, and to get immediate answers, even if there isn't a human to talk to them. People don't necessarily need to talk to humans. That's not true. They just want to feel like progress is being made. for their problem, or that they are getting an answer to their question. So on the marketing side, it's, can I quickly get the answers to these questions? So if anybody, here's what's cool about chatbots, dude. If anybody is doing they ask you answer well, that feeds the chatbots that are going to use the information you produce to be able to give answers quickly to your prospects when they're using live chat on your site. Now, this impatience, though, also affects sales. So think about the sales side of it. What are the things you can do to make your sales process faster and easier? Whether it's online or off, how can we eliminate steps? How can we eliminate additional pages, additional clicks, or whatever that is? We want to have the clickless experience. Can you create a zero-click experience with what you do? If you do that, you're really addressing the sales side of it. Like Domino's Pizza has done this well. They've been obsessing about a zero-click experience for their pizzas, and that's where they've essentially gotten to at this point, which is really, really cool, right? Really, really cool. Less work each time, less hassle. And then on the customer service side is, how quickly do they get an answer? How quickly do they get notified that progress is being made to solve the issue, whatever it was? How quickly do they know that the thing was shipped, or that the person was notified, or that this or that was taken care of? So speed is the name of the game, and I think chat is a major part of that. That's what I'm thinking a lot about. But there's so many more. I would say this though: everybody's got to be doing video by this point, Mike. I mean, if you're not doing video, and I mean when I say doing video, I'm not talking about hiring somebody and doing like 6 videos a year. That's a joke. I'm just to be frank, that's a joke. That is not acceptable. By the year 2019, 80% of the content we consume online as buyers and consumers is going to be video-based content. Cisco said that, not me. So with that being the case, and that's a reality, think about it. What percentage of the content you're producing right now is video-based content, right? Like you're producing this, and it's basically going to be in 3 forms. You're producing a visual version of your podcast. People can listen to the audio version of your podcast, and they can go to the site and see the textual. So this is a big deal. You get, that's the essence of they ask you answer, Mike. You get that, and not everybody's going to watch this video. A lot of people won't watch this, but for the people that do want to watch the video, they want to see talking faces and heads. Movement. That's why you're giving them the ability to do that.
And that's an interesting point too, getting back to one of our other questions, and this will be the last one and we'll wrap up because I know your time is valuable. But when we put things out on social, let's say, and we post it on Facebook, well, there's that small snippet of time that people see that because they're scrolling through their feed and they might miss it. They might not see it on there. Same with Twitter, same with LinkedIn. So there's going to be that pocket of people that saw this piece and that pocket that saw that piece, and everybody's not going to see every single thing you do. So being consistent, the video does capture attention. And depending on what platform you're seeing it on, maybe they start hearing a little bit of audio and it auto plays, who knows? But I think that consistency is one of the big, big keys. I think that's a massive point. To your point about the 6 times a year, some CEO or entrepreneur thinks, check, I did 6 videos a year, every other month. Yay. Well, it should be probably every other, day or week. So
it's just where we are.
Yep.
It's just where we are. And video is the rising tide that is going to come up and get you wet, whether you move your lounge chair or not.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things, like we're with video today where we were with websites about 12 years ago.
Yep.
About 12 years ago, everybody pretty much realized, oh yeah, I guess I got to have this whole website thing.
Yep.
Or otherwise I don't have a business, right? So that's where we are with video today.
Yep. Agreed. Well, hey, Marcus, what is the best way people can grab a copy of your book and reach out and jump into your world?
Yeah, man, I appreciate so much. You'll love the book if you get it. You're going to read it fast. You're going to be like, dude, this was so fun. Just go to Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com and type in They Ask, You Answer. You can find me at my brand new website is coming out, which is MarcusSheridan.com. And you can email me at Marcus@MarcusSheridan.com. My agency is called Impact BND, Bravo Nancy David, impactbnd.com. And if you are looking for agency services, consulting, education, all things inbound content, let us know. We'd love to help you out.
Marcus, thanks a million. It's always wonderful hearing your voice and now being able to have you on the show. And it's really awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Mike.
You've been listening to the Art of Authority podcast. Are you interested in building your authority positioning as the #1 strategy to grow your business, brand, and influence? Book your authority audit today. This 7-point audit of your current authority position will uncover opportunities and show you how to be seen as a leading expert and authority your industry looks to for advice. Visit www.authoritypositioningcoach.com.